1 through 30, you're just getting there. You know what I'm saying? And then 30 through 60 or 65, those are your really productive years. Yeah, baby, you're cutting it, you're trying to make it, you're finding yourself out, you know. Oh, that's when they all hire you, Efren. How can I build this better? How can I? And then after 65, it's like, okay, when do I retire? Will I retire? Not everybody retires. I'll retire only if I have to. I know several people in their 90s who still go to the office all day and add value.
Wow.
And some are, like an electrician or a plumber. Just because you're 90 doesn't mean you can't, or at a minimum, go in there and see what the problem is and the best way to fix it because of all that wisdom and experience that you do have. And just, there's no reason to ever retire unless that's what you want to do. I don't want this to sound negative at all, but the only way to die is by living your best life ever.
They say life is like a roller coaster, ups, downs, unexpected turns. But what happens when you're thrown into a ride you've never signed up for, right? My guest today, Francis Reeves, turned a personal crisis into a mission to change the elder care system for good. Francis, welcome to the show. How are you doing today, madam?
I am doing very well. Thank you. Funny you
Listen,
should call me a madam.
yes, disrespect. That's a southern in me.
It
Uh,
is, madam.
let's start with this. You've been in law, you've been in politics, and now you're in elder care. Did you ever imagine that this would actually be the journey, the path that would lead you on in this life that you live today?
And motivate me to write my book. I
And an author. How can I forget? And an author, yes.
Boomers booming, how to thrive after 65 and have good sex.
I, I'll tell you what, you don't look age past 65, a year past 65, I meant.
Well, thank you. I just wrote an article yesterday discussing how introspective I had to become to turn 70 and accept it and
Wow.
internalize it. So I'm now out with my
70?
age.
Come on, you're looking too
No,
good. What are you drinking? What kind of water are you drinking? I need to look at like this when I'm 70 years old.
yeah, it's mom and dad. It's all genes, believe it or not. I haven't, I haven't gained and lost weight, so that helps a little bit with the face.
Yeah.
But I assure you that there are parts of the body that are falling.
You're too funny. I, I'll ask you, man. You founded Parent Your Parents after seeing really your own parents go through a broken system.
That's right.
Can you take us back to that moment? What was that breaking point that made you say, you know what? I need to do something about this. This can't no longer be happening.
The breaking point was when a major insurance company, not somebody
Mhm.
you've never heard of, but a major insurance company out of, isn't it Delaware where they all are, um, miscounted my mother's days on her long-term care policy, which meant they quit paying. And it was a lot of money a month. So, and my brother and I didn't quite have it.
Mhm.
So, um, what I did was I actually went and counted. She had either a 2 or 3 year policy. So I counted all the days, realized they had miscounted. Then I joined a premium LinkedIn because, getting into these big insurance companies is not easy. I joined premium LinkedIn, and anyone who had a title of senior VP and above, I drafted a letter about what had happened to my mom. And within 24 hours, I had a phone call. And within a week, I had $15,000, which means I didn't ask for enough because they took the first number I threw out there. And the guy
Wow.
with whom I was dealing says to me, Ms. Reeves, this never happens, which meant Ms. Reeves, we never get caught. Because if you're an older person on long-term care, what? You're going to count all those you're going to count all those invoices and put it all together. And that was when Parent Your Parents was founded in my mind. Now, of course, I just knew I had to do something. I hadn't quite put it all together. That took, a couple more months. But nevertheless, that was it. That was the moment. I'd had it with the way my parents were treated. I had it. And
I want to before we move forward. Did you say you went on LinkedIn
mhm.
and you went on LinkedIn Premium and you
I
just started
joined
to?
Premium LinkedIn just so that I could find out who those people were.
What made you think to go into LinkedIn Premium?
Because otherwise, you're calling, no one's answering. No, I'm so sorry. You're not going to get to the CEO, to the now. I will say the CEO, like for instance, in American Express, you
Hmm.
can write the CEO, and he has an office people at American Express that'll forgive you if like you've missed a payment and won't hold it against you, but only
Hmm.
one. So there probably is something like that at this insurance company, but why take a chance?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you, 10 people got that letter.
I love it. I love how you. I mean, of course, right? This is your loved one. You're gonna do anything possible. You're gonna
It's
think of all the most creative ways that you can get to the top of the food chain. I don't want
exactly
to talk to the person that keeps telling me there's nothing you can do. I'm sorry. No, no. I want to talk to the person in charge.
right.
I love it.
And I was used to dealing with CEOs. In other words, when I lived in Baltimore, my husband, who owned his own company, I mean, he called himself president, but basically he was the CEO of a small company. So I was used to uh, dealing with those people, but not in this case. I didn't know who this guy was, and it's not like I could use my husband's name to get to him,
Hmm.
and because I'd been in politics in Maryland, I could call a lawmaker and have them call a CEO, but I wasn't in Maryland anymore. And so
Yeah. You know, so many people would say that they talk about finding their purpose. Do you feel like this was that purpose,
it
the work
is.
that you're doing today? Is this the purpose that you live for?
It is. It is the purpose. And um, I'm I'm not even sorry that I didn't get into it earlier, because the truth of the matter is I didn't have the experiences I've had. Now, I mean, besides mom getting dementia and me having
Mhm.
to deal with dad, besides that, then my husband also got dementia that became Alzheimer's. And I've been through having to be a caretaker and putting him into a home. So, I mean, it's all for a purpose. And I'm here to tell you that even though, like, when my husband, whose name is Tom, even when I put Tom into first rehab and then on in, I mean, so many mistakes were made. And at first, I was furious. I'm like, wait a second. But now you know what I do? I take him cookies. I say thank you. When someone screws up, I just say, look, we're all human. Because the bottom line is, if I'm not nice to them, they're not going to be nice to my husband.
That's actually one of the questions I was going to ask you next. You said something powerful in our last chat that we had. Even the best elder care places are just okay.
Exactly.
Is this why? What are they really missing? I mean, I'm guessing some of the things you just said, but what are they truly missing?
Well, the way I see it is they're missing a process. For instance, my husband went from rehab into skilled nursing. And because he was wandering, they put him in a locked floor. All of which, I mean, all of that is fine. But
Hmm.
A, they forgot to call me. B, they forgot his clothes. C, they forgot his charger. D, they forgot his nail clippers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, wow. And they moved him like pretty late at night. Like, I mean, for rehab, like 6:30 or 7. So it wouldn't have mattered. I would have been out to dinner anyway. But I mean, if they'd called at 4, I could have made other plans and been there to help move.
Hmm.
Um, but, at the end of the day, the head of social work called me up and said how sorry he was that, it was definitely, they had definitely done it wrong and he was having a meeting and they were going to talk about it, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, well, when you have a meeting with them, please tell them that if I raise my voice at them, it's just out of the stress and frustration that I felt being a little bit out of control. And I do that because I want him to always be able to call me and know I'm not going to yell and scream at him,
Hmm. Yeah,
And
you're right. You're right. You don't want once you someone thinks you're this
bitch,
angry, upset person or
bitch, I'll say it.
that.
And let me tell you
That's who
what
you are.
let me tell you what bitch stands for, because I can be a glass eating bitch from hell. Do not think I can't. But bitch stands for babe in total control of herself. So,
Oh, come on now.
yeah. So, if I'm representing someone other than a family member, you watch me go in there. You watch me. And
Yeah.
listen, in one particular case, compliance, which is a nice word for lawyers,
Mhm.
compliance screwed up big time. Now, because of all the clients I have in this place, I could have gone to the CEO and said, you guys really screwed up and I can sue. But instead, I called general counsel and offered to teach the class because they hadn't done what the statute said.
Wow. You're top notch. I love the way that you said, listen, something got to give, and I'm going to figure out how the hell I'm going to do it. First, you're at LinkedIn, all right? You're figuring out that. Then you say, hey, I'll just come teach the class myself. Clearly, you guys need someone to teach this.
I know. And she said, no, no, we'll do it. I'm like, okay, we'll see.
You are too funny. I'm happy that I'm on your good side. I do not want to see this other side of you, Francis.
Yes, you do if you need me. Yes,
Listen,
you
I definitely you're on speed dial for those reasons. When it comes to how caregivers are paid and treated,
do.
do you feel that maybe that's what affects the quality, and what could really be done in this case if it is?
Well, the whole caregiving, the most a caregiver makes for the most part, if you're working for like an agency, the most you're going to be making is $20 an hour. If you're working directly for the person, the most you're going to be making is 25 to $30 an hour, depending on what you can what you can negotiate. The people that I have that are independent, not within a home health care agency, they usually make around $25 an hour. And I hire them. Like, for instance, I've hired a woman that I've known for 5 years. I met her when she was caregiving someone else, and she just has a knack for it. And so she's paid $25 an hour. And she works like 3 days. In my case, she comes once a week to see my husband. She goes once a week to see another client of mine.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Or twice a month, another client of mine. Um, but the women who work there at the location where my husband is, if they work $20, if they make $20 an hour, I'm I'm a little surprised. I'm
Mhm.
thinking they're more like 18 or 19, a little above the wage, because and there's a big difference into someone who's just working there versus a certified nurse assistant versus licensed, what is it, practical nurse versus a nurse versus BS nurse. I mean,
Mhm.
there's a hierarchy just in the
Yeah.
nursing. So, but they're the people who keep it going. And I know the charge nurse or the head nurse on my husband's floor, and say thank you all the time.
If the Hart and Hustle podcast has ever sparked any idea or made you think differently, do us a favor. Make sure to guys share this, post it on LinkedIn, or even text that nonprofit friend that you just have. Whatever works, this is what keeps the conversation going and allows us to just grow this community together. Seriously, we appreciate you. Francis, I don't think that people really think about elder care until it's truly, really happening to them or their family. What's something that you wish everyone really knew before they ever had to deal with this?
I wish they figured out that they are also going to die. And unless you die young, you're going to be old. Period. I mean,
Period.
Gene Hackman, even though it's a weird death at this point, was 95. His wife, 60, I've heard several, 63, 64, 65, but it doesn't matter. She's younger than I am. She didn't wake up that day planning on dying. I just wrote an article on how you have to understand, even though, I mean, I don't want you to think, oh, yeah, no, I'm prepared to die. I'm not prepared to die. But the only way I can die well is if I live life better, which means that you have to get up and be grateful that you're in the journey, right? Now, that really isn't going to happen. I mean, here's how I sort of see it 1 through 30, you're just getting there. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
then 30 through 60 or 65, those are your really productive years. Yeah, baby, you're cutting it, you're trying to make it, you're finding yourself out, you know. Oh, that's when they all hire you, Efren. How can I build this better? How can I? And then after 65, it's like, okay, when do I retire? Will I retire? Not everybody retires. I mean, I'll retire only if I have to. I know several people in their 90s who still go to the office all day and add value.
Wow.
I mean, and some are, like an electrician or a plumber. I mean, just because you're 90 doesn't mean you can't, you know, or at a minimum, go in there and see what the problem is and the best way to fix it because of all that wisdom and experience that you do have. And just, I mean, there's no reason to ever retire unless that's what you want to do. A friend of mine just retired, 68 years old, and he wants to write a book. I thought, well, I did that on Sundays while working, so, but, everybody,
You're too
everybody,
funny.
yeah, everybody has, I mean, just because I want to do something doesn't mean everybody else wants to.
True.
And what I have also learned, and this is what's really hard to learn when we're younger, it's not your timetable, it's their timetable. In other words, you know that old saying, hurry up and wait. Yeah, I mean, there I was constantly. I gotta get there. I gotta get there. Well, no one else was ready. You know what I'm saying? So, and if you have kids, you also know that no matter how much you value those children and love them, that doesn't mean they value you. Not until, I mean, I'm the first one to say mom and dad were right, but not when they gave me advice, not for the longest time. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
it takes some time
It
truly
does.
to realize everything they said was actually right. I'm 35 years old, and I got to go back to my mom and think like, man, if I would just listen so many years ago, I would have been ahead of the game. But I didn't listen to my mom, so no,
I
100%
know.
agree with what you're saying there.
I know. Well, and then you also, my mom and I had a fractious relationship, and I'm just going to give you an example. I had just graduated from Texas Christian University, and mom and dad, I mean, it was like, oh wow, what was I going to do next? Other than the whole family was going on. Was mom and dad's thing. What do we call those vehicles that are also homes?
RVs?
RVs. Yeah, we were doing a little RV across from Texas to Florida. which is not my thing, but it was mom and dad's thing. And I still remember standing in that RV and mom saying, "Well, what do you think you'd want to do next?" And I said, I don't know. I'm kind of thinking law school might be something I'd like to do. And this is what my mother said to me. Well, who would have you? Yeah. Yeah. Now look. So what do you have to do? You have to get over that,
Hmm.
right? Which
Hmm.
I did. And then I went to law school. And then, oh, wait. Then when I've announced I'm going to law school, I've been accepted, blah, blah, blah. And mom and dad had said they couldn't pay. They were retired. So, I mean, who cares, right? They'd paid for my undergrad.
Hmm.
So mom comes and tells me, "I don't understand why you're going to law school." She goes, "You're not even married." I'm like, she goes, "And you're going to be 33, or I can't remember, 33, 32 or 33 when you graduate." I'm like, "Well, mom, with any luck, that's going to happen anyway." So this way I'll have a degree. But she was that in between generation, because mom would have loved to have gone to law school. She was such a smart lady.
Yeah.
She would have loved all of that, but she didn't have that opportunity. So it wasn't
Hmm.
fair that I did. I mean, that was part of our fractious
Yeah.
relationship.
No, and it is one of those. What's crazy is actually, and I know it was completely off topic here, but when you hear that as a young age, as you mentioned, you move forward with it. Not everyone can actually do that. People are still living with those same sayings that their parents repeated over and over. Because I will tell you, when I remember I wanted to. 18 years old, I left my mom's house. I was adopted. I was already kind of feeling, all these feelings. So I told myself, 18, I'm gone. And I did. 18, I was gone. And I remember I was actually doing modeling at the time.
Hmm.
And I remember going and, telling mom, I'm modeling. How exciting is that? Right. And she says, "Oh, that's gay. You should do something else." And I thought to myself, like, damn, I just I did a runway show. Like, so I just wouldn't invite her. You know how many, publications I did and all these things. I just wouldn't invite her. Later on in time, I've given her like this blown up picture. And now she kind of loves it and she loves to show it off and things like that. But it is, people only know what they know.
Right,
And a lot of the times they think it's the impossible because they've never experienced someone to do that. It's like entrepreneurship.
right.
I'm probably one of the first entrepreneurs in my family, and I also had my mom come into the store that I just opened and say, "Hey, your brother's job's hiring, right?" I'm like, "You just walked into my store. Like, I get it. I'm not making money today, but like, so I hear you on that. I definitely
Yeah.
do hear you. But someone's listening right now, Francis, that they're listening because their parent or loved one is actually in a facility. What's the first thing they should actually be paying attention to?
They should just make sure that that person, for instance, I go see my husband 3 times a week. I try to see
Hmm.
him 3 times a week. And I'm hoping that he'll find someone else in there that will want to take better care of him, because I'm working 40 hours a week. And so that
Hmm.
takes 2 or 3 hours out of my day, you know? So, but the reason I go, and the reason I go and see all my clients over there, is because someone's got to be watching to make sure. And if you can't be there, you have to hire someone to go. Like, as I said, the caretaker lady that I use, it's going to be coming in once a week. No one ever knows when she's going to be coming in. And a couple times with one of my other clients, you know, we caught some money being stolen. We caught some clothes being stolen. And, that was taken care of,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
look, we always read about these horrible things, like some guy who has sex with all these old ladies or whatever. I mean, and it's rape, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, but that's not what you really want to worry about. What you want to worry about is that your loved one doesn't have bed sores, that your loved one is getting fed 3 times a week, that and honestly, they call me once a month on one of my clients, and we have her care plan. She's in hospice. And she's lost so much weight, but all she does is lay in bed. You know,
Hmm.
I and she's always been, since I met her 6 years ago, I was called in by another attorney because she was living in a house that was falling in around her and had run out of money.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so we had to sell the house. We She had two different caretakers. One was quitting, so the other caretaker is a woman I still have. Um, and so we moved her into the place she is now, and I had to pay for the first 4 months, which, of course, any attorney will tell you never do that. But there was no one else. I mean,
Hmm. Yeah, I could tell you a story now. There was actually local. There was a commissioner, and kind of similar. Like the family just didn't want, wasn't paying attention to the woman pretty much per se.
yeah,
And this commissioner stepped in and made sure she was good and always took care of her and her house and had someone clean it and all these different things. And I don't know really the whole story, but I guess the family started to say she was using her money. So it's a whole court situation. They removed her from the commissioner's seat. She's going through all these legal things, and she's like, "All I did was help someone that was not being helped." She was like 90 something years old.
oh,
And the money that she was providing me this money, to the point that the lady did have Alzheimer's, but for some apparent reason, she just was in court. She said something about that situation, which was kind of got her out of out of the legal issue that she was. But just imagine she didn't recall that, and she didn't make that statement,
right.
because in reality, what happens, families get really hungry when they realize there's money involved, there's all this coming up, now all of the woodwork. Oh, I love this person, this is my favorite brother or sister or mom, or like, but you haven't checked on them for years. You talk about the bed sores. Just imagine
Yeah.
that someone's in a home for years and no one's checking up on them, but for so many other years that person was always there. They were present, they were providing. So it's a very, very tough space, and you've been through a lot,
I-
Francis. Your parents, the struggles,
Well,
running a business.
and listen, with mom, I want you to know that in the end, I'm so happy about this, but in the end, I realized that at the very least, this woman had given me life. And if I
Yeah,
wasn't grateful for that, then shame on me.
I agree.
So I became her biggest defender. She knew I would show up. She knew that when I showed up, people would pay attention. Um, and it's not because I yelled and screamed. It's because I would point things out, like, why is
Mhm.
my mother's toenail an inch long, and she's in tennis shoes? Is that some? You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
so,
Mhm.
and same with my father. He put himself in an assisted living facility, and when I showed up, they all knew that room had better be clean. We were paying $6,000 a month, baby.
Wow. I mean, think about it. The way that your parents took care of you as you were growing up, you were this child, they poured into you, they cared, they loved. You have to give the same.
It was an
You know what I
honor.
mean?
It was an honor. It's
Yeah,
what I should
100%.
do.
You're not who you are today with, was it perfect? Probably not. But damn, they gave you life, as you mentioned.
Exactly.
Look where you're at today. They didn't give up on you, even when you weren't listening to them. Even when you went to law school, Francis.
In spite of them. Well, I have a real cute story about mom. And what happened was I was visiting. This is when they still lived in Houston. And so she came in. I was in my little bedroom, and so she came in and was just kibitzing with me. And she had dementia. And people with dementia sometimes forget they have to go to the bathroom. Like they figure it
Mhm.
out right before it goes. And sometimes, they don't get to the bathroom in time. And so that's what happened. And this was number two, to say it nicely. And she was mortified. I mean, she was mortified, and that she'd done it in
Mhm.
front of me. And then dad, came out, and he started. I said, "Oh, no, 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 dad, don't worry. I'll take care of it." Right. And mother was sitting there just, "Oh, Franny," she called me Franny. "Franny, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." I said, "Mom, how many times did you have to do this for me?" And she goes, "You are right." And then there was never an issue ever again. It was like, oh, I mean, she was so relaxed after that. So, it's true.
Francis, we talk about hustle on this podcast so much. Obviously, the Hart and Hustle podcast is allowing others to see the hustle that someone puts in. and the heart they have for it, right? So hustle also meets heartbreak.
Hmm.
How do you keep pushing forward when life just continues to throw you a curveball? Because now three different individuals you've had to kind of experience this,
Well,
and while building a business and writing books and being Francis.
you know, there's sometimes I don't know. Um, I think I told you this last time when we had our pre-conference, but my husband, between the ages of 70 and 80, spent the $3 million he had made from selling his business. I mean, he'd made more, but that's sort of what was
Hmm.
left. And we had a prenup. I was wife number two, and still am wife number two, but nevertheless. So his money was his, mine was mine. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
it wasn't like I could check in on him or anything like that. And he was very, very, held it very close to his chest. So and dementia starts long before loved ones know it. And he'd quit paying his bills. I didn't even realize he'd quit paying his bills. I realized none of this. And besides the $3 million that I don't have as a second income anymore, he left me $350,000 in debt. And I go back to some of my old articles, and I think it's because I could write about it and be vulnerable. I mean, because it's Robert Frost who says the best way out is through. But what he doesn't say is how hard through is.
Mm.
Whether you're, um, what's that guy who's like Mr. Basketball? You can tell him,
LeBron James.
yes,
Oh.
LeBron James, right? I mean, yes, he has a talent, but that boy he has to stay on top of it every day,
Yeah.
and it can't be easy. That body is brutalized.
Yeah.
It's a little like that quarterback um, who played through to his 40s. You can see I'm a big sports fan, right? Because I come.
Listen, I don't watch basketball. I just knew LeBron James. So when it comes to the quarterback, I can help you there though.
so so it's I want you to know I had my share of pity parties where I'd be out walking or running and cry and wonder how this happened to me. That
Hmm.
whole karma thing. What did I do to deserve this? Blah, blah, blah. But you know what? It doesn't really matter. Does it? So, what if I answer those questions? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That one time I lied to my really good
Hmm.
friend when I shouldn't have. I mean, that's not why this happened to me. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So, I am you just have to get up every morning because you can ball up,
Yep.
sell the house, and find some place to live where you're not going to be happy for the rest of your life, or overcome. I mean, Martin Luther King died for us overcoming.
Yeah.
So the least
I
I
love
can
that.
do is show up every morning and look, it's still not done. I mean, I'm still, hustling. I'm still worried. Am I going to make, I mean, anybody, you're an entrepreneur. No entrepreneur, I mean, I'm sure even Bill Gates worries. I don't think Elon Musk does. But
You're
I
too
do
funny.
think Bill Gates worries about his kids. And, I
Yeah.
mean,
I got a question. Let's talk about Elon Musk, right? We're in a place that Elon Musk is very technology, and I mean even kind of robots. But we won't get too far into the robots they're supposed to be dropping this year. But I do want to talk about AI. Are you and your organization looking around the corner at these emerging technologies like AI and how can potentially help your
yeah,
team
of
execute on your
course.
mission?
I mean, think about it. If I'd thought about it, could I have put my book through AI for a editing instead of paying an editor $5,000? I mean, could I have done that? I don't know. Here's what I do know. I use AI a lot when I'm like writing a letter that I have to write or
Hmm.
putting together a document for one of my trusts. But here's what I've noticed. They all sound like AI.
Hmm.
So I have to interject Francis Reeves into those letters.
100%. Hmm.
So do I think AI, it can, I mean, like everything, it can be used for the good, it can be used for the bad. But I don't think I'm replaceable just because someone else can write. I write pretty well.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think I like to look at that AI space as a co-pilot. I know
Uh-huh.
Microsoft owns it, but truly just where it helps you save time. I mean, email drafting. I speak to nonprofit leaders, and they're talking about how they use it for grant writing, and
Uh-huh.
I'm like, oh wow, that's actually really good. Never thought about it. But if you can have that AI expert agent be something your clients and community can actually access for good trusted information, is that something that you'll be comfortable with?
No, no. First of all, a trust, for the most part, is a pretty personal document. You'd be
Hmm.
surprised, I mean, I have one that if this happens and this has to happen, then if this happens, then this has to happen, and then if this happens, this has to happen, because that's how the person wants it. I can't tell AI to do it. They're just going to do a regular old trust that says, if this happens, and it's now, can I give them the first draft and then take it from there? I sure can. But I already have that on software. You know what I'm saying? I just
Hmm.
so and if like the other day I was having a problem drafting a letter. I wasn't putting it all together. So I put it into AI, and then the minute you're editing, lawyers love to edit. And so the minute you're editing, it's like, oh, yeah. Oh no, this is good. No, that's not how I really feel about it. So that's how I've been using AI.
Hmm. What's next for you? Another book, expanding your business.
Well,
Like, what's keeping you excited about the future?
I'm going to tell you what's next for me. And it's a lot harder to get there than I thought it was. Although I have it as a hashtag now.
Hmm.
I want to be the person that CNN calls when they have an elder care question. That's
I
what's
love that.
next for me.
I could see you on CNN. I could see you on CNN, Francis. And when I do see you on there, just don't forget the little people. Don't forget we have
No,
this
honey,
conversation.
you're coming right on with me.
Listen, when we start to wrap things up, how can people get involved? Whether they need help with other care, elder care, or they just want to support your mission, where should they start?
Well, they should start with my website, parentyourparents.com. And you can actually buy my book on the website. If you buy my book on the website versus Amazon.com, I'll actually sign it for you. That's my
Mm,
little extra. But
okay.
it also tells you a lot of what you have to look for. You know, are your parents really like today? This kid that I've known for 30 years called me. He's now in his 40s and he has to deal with mom and dad. And when I remember him when we all went to church together, I'm like, Rob, oh my God, you have a 23-year-old son? How did that happen? You know what I'm saying? But now here he is dealing with it. And because he's read my articles and seen the website, and look, I'm a Florida lawyer and a Maryland lawyer. So let's say if you're a Kentucky lawyer and or a Kentucky person, you're still allowed to send me an email or call the office. And we can find you a Kentucky lawyer. I mean,
Hmm.
my I want to be that one-stop shop for elders. In other words, if you need care, here's some home health care places. If you need a social security card or you need to do it because your parents don't know they're or constantly losing their passwords to everything, because social security says only you can start that. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Hmm.
really social security. How many
Yes.
85-year-olds are going to know how to get on here? I mean, please. So, um, so, don't let the fact that I'm in Florida stop you. But I think, and I also want to say that because of my work here, there, I feel, especially down here in Florida, of course, especially we're the seniors capital
Hmm.
of the world. You know that, Ephraim. But we are making strides. I mean, Dr. Agronin here at the Mind Institute, he has come up with this whole idea of placing people in a wellness center for their brain power. I mean, it's not like one day you're sane and then the next day you're demented. That's not how it is. Some people do it quickly. My husband had a fairly downward trajectory, but then you can plateau. And so put all those people together. Put all the people who still have more good days than bad days together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
100%.
we, because the baby boomers are in fact getting dementia, as are their parents, now we're worried about it. It's like, oh my gosh, this can happen to me. I mean, I'm well aware that it happened to mom, so there's no reason it can't happen to me. You know, I'm hoping I'm more my dad, but
Francis, as I'm looking at the time, I know we can go on
I
forever.
know,
But we got to start to wrap it up.
yes,
So
sir.
I want to get to the fun part. I want to get to that blind question. We like to end every episode with something special. I mean, you are special. However, our last guest, they left a question for you without even knowing who you are. So they ask, out of everything that you're doing, what is that one major thing that you've learned being a leader?
That you must lead by example. Unless you've done it, you can't lead it.
Okay, I like that. So now's your turn. What's that one question that you would like to leave for our next guest?
Why do you feel as though this journey is the one you should be on?
I like that. Why do you feel this? Okay, this is really good. I almost wanted to answer, but I'm not going to answer. I'm going to let the next person answer this. Francis, this has truly been incredible.
It has,
I
my
know,
friend. Thank you.
yeah, and I know that people are going to walk away just feeling inspired and informed, more importantly, because I think it's a conversation we don't have enough until the last minute. But before we wrap, any final words or wisdom that you want to leave to the viewers that are watching?
Well, I don't want this to sound negative at all, but the only way to die is by living your best life ever.
You're just dropping all gems today. That was a mic drop. For everyone listening, take notes. This is truly just a master class with Francis in resilience and impact. Go make sure that you guys check out Parent Your Parents. Check out Francis's book, and always keep hustling with heart. Francis, thank you so much for being here, and
I'm
I can't
hustling.
wait to see you on CNN because I didn't forget that. Okay,
Yeah. my
we'll see you guys.
my hashtag is CNN Watch Me.
I love it.